The rain had just started when Ethan Blackwood eased his car into traffic, the city lights blurring against the windshield like smeared gold. The gala had gone exactly as it was supposed to. Handshakes, congratulations, polite laughter, the unspoken acknowledgement that he had won again. Another deal finalized. Another charity praised. Another evening where his name carried weight in every corner of the room. Beside him, Claire adjusted the hem of her designer coat, checking her reflection in the side mirror. She looked flawless as always. Tall, elegant, carefully composed. The kind of woman magazines loved to photograph on the arm of a billionaire. "You were impressive tonight," she said lightly. "My father was very pleased." Ethan nodded, eyes fixed on the road. It was a good event. That was the extent of his response. Claire smiled anyway, used to filling the silences he left behind. They had been engaged for 3 months. The announcement had made headlines. Billionaire CEO set to marry socialite heiress. And everyone seemed relieved that his life finally looked complete. Ethan should have felt the same. Instead, there was a quiet emptiness that followed him everywhere, a sense that he was living a life assembled for him rather than one he had chosen. Claire was perfect on paper, intelligent, polished, ambitious in a way that complemented his own. She never challenged his long hours or questioned his priorities. She fit neatly into the future he had built. Yet as he drove her home, the silence between them felt heavier than usual. They stopped at a red light downtown, the rain coming down harder now. Pedestrians clustered at the corners, umbrellas bumping into one another as they waited for the signal to change. Ethan absently drummed his fingers against the steering wheel, already thinking about the early meeting he had scheduled for the morning. Then he saw her. At first, his mind refused to process what his eyes were telling him. A woman stepped off the curb across the intersection, holding the hands of 2 small children, twins, a boy and a girl, their steps perfectly out of sync as they navigated the wet pavement. She laughed at something the boy said, her face soft in a way Ethan had not seen in years. The world narrowed to that single moment. Her hair was darker now, pulled back into a low ponytail. She wore a plain coat, worn at the edges, nothing like the dresses she used to wear when they went out together. But her walk, the slight tilt of her head, the way she leaned protectively toward the children, it was unmistakably her. Lena. Ethan's breath left him in a sharp, soundless rush. His hands tightened on the steering wheel as if the car were the only thing anchoring him to reality. This is not happening. The twins skipped over a puddle, their laughter bright even through the closed windows. The girl tugged on Lena's hand, nearly pulling her off balance. Lena steadied her, smiling down with an ease that made something twist painfully in Ethan's chest. Then, as if pulled by an invisible thread, Lena looked up. Their eyes met. For a fraction of a second, everything else disappeared. The traffic, the rain, the city noise. Recognition flared in her expression, followed immediately by something sharper. Panic. Fear. Her grip tightened on the children's hands. She broke eye contact, quickening her pace as the signal changed and the crosswalk filled. By the time the crowd reached the other side, she was already turning down a side street, the twins trailing behind her. Gone. The light turned green. Cars honked behind him. Ethan, Claire's voice cut in, faintly irritated. The light. He blinked, his foot pressing the accelerator on instinct. The car moved forward, but his mind stayed behind, stranded at that intersection. Claire frowned, studying his profile. "Are you all right?" You went pale. "I'm fine," he said automatically, the word hollow. "Just tired." She accepted that explanation, as she always did. "You've been working too much. Once the wedding planning is finished, maybe we can take a break somewhere warm." He murmured something non-committal, barely aware of what she was saying. Lena. The name echoed through him like a shockwave. He had not seen her in 5 years. Not since the night everything had ended. Raised voices, accusations, choices made in anger and pride. He had told himself it was necessary, that walking away was the only option if he wanted the life he had now. And yet there she was, alive and real and walking through the rain with 2 children who looked to be about 4 years old. Twins. His stomach dropped. No, It couldn't mean. He cut the thought off, but it had already taken root, spreading fast and merciless. The timing lined up too perfectly. The age, the way one of the children had his dark hair, the same unruly wave Ethan saw every morning in the mirror. The rest of the drive passed in a blur. He barely remembered pulling up in front of Claire's building, barely registered her leaning over to kiss his cheek. "Get some rest," she said. "We'll talk tomorrow." "Yeah," he replied. "Good night." He waited until she was safely inside before pulling away, his hands shaking now that he was alone. Instead of heading home, he drove aimlessly, the city stretching endlessly around him. Questions pounded through his head, each one heavier than the last. Why hadn't she told him? Were they really? How could he not have known? At a stoplight, he caught his reflection in the rearview mirror. The man staring back looked composed, successful, in control. A man who had everything. It felt like a lie. Somewhere in this city, the woman he had never truly stopped loving was raising 2 children who might be his, without him, without his name, without his protection. And he had been driving his fiancée home, convinced his past was finished. The rain eased as he finally turned toward his apartment, but the storm inside him only grew stronger. Ethan Blackwood had built an empire by believing every problem could be solved with enough money, power, and determination. But as he lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling while the image of Lena and the twins replayed over and over in his mind, he knew one undeniable truth. Whatever he had just seen at that crosswalk was not a problem he could outrun. It was the beginning of everything he thought he had left behind. Ethan did not sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, the image returned with brutal clarity. Lena's face in the rain, the way her hand tightened around the twins' fingers, the flash of fear in her eyes when she recognized him. By morning, his sheets were untouched, his mind raw and restless. He arrived at the office before sunrise, the city still half asleep beneath a gray sky. His assistant glanced up in surprise when he walked in without his usual coffee. "Good morning, Mr. Blackwood. You are early." "Cancel my first 2 meetings," he said, shrugging out his coat. "Tell them I will reschedule." She hesitated. "The merger call can wait." The words felt strange on his tongue. Once, nothing had been allowed to wait. He closed the door to his office and stood by the window, watching people move along the sidewalk below. Parents with strollers, children with backpacks too big for their shoulders. His chest tightened. Twins. He ran a hand through his hair, forcing himself to think clearly. Ethan Blackwood did not spiral. He gathered facts. He made plans. Lena had disappeared 5 years ago. She had left the city without a forwarding address, cutting all contact. He had assumed she wanted nothing more to do with him, and pride had kept him from searching too hard. He told himself she was better off, that he was better off. Now that lie lay in pieces. He picked up his phone and made a call he had not made in years. "Jonah," he said when the line connected. "I need a favor." His head of security listened in silence as Ethan explained, carefully leaving out nothing except the ache behind his words. "I need you to find someone," Ethan finished. Discreetly, Jonah exhaled slowly. "Is this personal?" "Yes. That usually makes things complicated." "I know," Ethan said, "but I need answers." By mid-morning, his phone buzzed with a message from Claire. "Lunch today. Wedding planner wants to finalize dates." Ethan stared at the screen longer than necessary before typing back, running behind. "Tonight?" A pause. Then, "You have been distracted lately." Guilt flickered. Claire did not deserve this. She had done nothing wrong except believe him when he said he was ready. He set the phone aside and returned to the window, his thoughts circling back to the crosswalk. Lena had looked thinner, tired in a way that had nothing to do with lack of sleep. She had not looked unhappy, exactly, but she had looked cautious, guarded, like someone who had learned the hard way not to expect help. The thought twisted something deep in his chest. Jonah's report came faster than Ethan expected. "She is living in Brookside," Jonah said over the phone that afternoon. "Small apartment, building near the elementary school. Works part-time at a legal aid office. Nothing flashy." Ethan closed his eyes. Brookside was not far from where they used to live together, back when their biggest arguments had been about whose turn it was to do the dishes. And the children? A boy and a girl, almost 5, registered at the local preschool. Last name Carter. Carter, Lena's mother's maiden name. Ethan's grip tightened on the phone. Thank you. You want me to keep digging? Yes, he said quietly. But do not let her know. Not yet. When the call ended, he sank into his chair, the weight of reality pressing down hard. They were real. Not a coincidence. Not his imagination. Children. His children. The certainty settled in with terrifying calm. He left the office early, ignoring the raised eyebrows and whispered questions. Instead of going home, he drove to Brookside, parking a block away from the address Jonah had given him. The neighborhood was modest and warm, lined with old trees and narrow sidewalks. Children played in front yards, their laughter carrying on the air. It felt like another world from the glass towers and boardrooms he inhabited. He waited. After 20 minutes, the front door of the building opened. Lena stepped out. She wore jeans and a sweater, her hair loose now, falling around her shoulders. The twins followed, arguing loudly about who got to hold the red backpack. She knelt between them, mediating with practiced patience, then stood and took their hands. Ethan's breath caught. Up close, there was no denying it. The boy had his eyes. The girl had his stubborn chin. They both had his heart, apparently, because it was pounding so hard he could feel it in his throat. He stayed where he was, hidden behind the windshield, watching as they walked toward the school at the end of the street. Lena listened intently as the girl spoke, nodding seriously, then laughed at something the boy whispered. That laugh hit him harder than he expected. He followed at a distance, stopping when they reached the school gates. Lena crouched to hug them both, pressing a kiss to each small forehead. The boy waved enthusiastically before being pulled inside by a teacher. The girl turned back twice to wave again. Lena straightened, watching until the doors closed. For a moment, she stood very still. Then, as if she sensed him again, she turned. This time, there was no crowd to hide behind. Their eyes met across the street. The shock on her face hardened into something colder. She crossed her arms, jaw tightening, and walked toward him with deliberate steps. "What are you doing here?" she demanded when she reached his car. Ethan opened the door and stepped out, rain from the previous night still clinging to the pavement between them. "I needed to see you," he said softly. Her laugh was sharp, humorless. 5 years too late. "They are mine," he said, not as a question. Lena's eyes flashed. "You do not get to say that." "I know," he replied, "but I need to know the truth." "You already made your choice," she said, voice trembling despite her control. "You chose your empire, your future. I chose to survive." He took a step closer. "Why did you not tell me?" Her composure cracked just enough to reveal the hurt beneath. "Because you made it very clear there was no room in your life for anything that could slow you down." The words landed hard because they were not wrong. Around them, the neighborhood continued as normal. Parents chatting, children laughing, while Ethan's carefully built world tilted on its axis. "I am engaged," he said, the confession bitter on his tongue. "But that does not change this." Lena's expression shifted, pain flickering before she masked it. "Then you should go home to her." "I cannot," he said. "Not until we talk. Not until I understand." She looked past him toward the school doors. "We will talk," she said finally. "But not here. And not today." Ethan nodded, relief and dread tangling together. "When?" "Soon," she replied. "Because whether you like it or not, Ethan Blackwood, you just walked back into our lives." She turned and walked away, leaving him standing on the sidewalk, watching the woman he loved disappear once more, this time with the certainty that running was no longer an option. The past had caught up to him, and it was asking for everything. Lena did not call that night. Ethan checked his phone more times than he cared to admit, each vibration sending a jolt of anticipation through him, only to fade into disappointment. He attended the engagement dinner with Claire's parents on autopilot, smiling when required, nodding at the right moments, his mind elsewhere. "So," Claire's mother said warmly over dessert, "have you set a date yet?" Ethan's fort paused midair. "Not yet." Claire shot him a look. "We discussed June." He forced a smile. "We are still discussing." The silence that followed was polite but sharp. Claire reached for his hand beneath the table, her grip firm, possessive, reassuring, or perhaps both. "You are distracted," she said later, once they were alone in the car. "Something is wrong." "It is just work," he replied, automatically. She studied him for a long moment. "Work has never made you look like that." He had no answer, and for the first time, Claire did not push. She simply turned toward the window, the city lights reflecting off her eyes. That night, Ethan dreamed of small hands slipping from his grasp. The call came the next afternoon. "We can meet today," Lena said, her voice measured distant. "After the kids go to bed." "Where?" he asked. "My place," she replied after a brief pause. "But only to talk." "Of course." He arrived early, parking down the street again, unsure whether he deserved to stand at her door. The building looked smaller up close, its paint chipped, the hallway lights dim. This was not the life he had imagined for her, or for them. The door opened before he could knock. Lena stood there, arms crossed, her expression guarded. "Come in." The apartment was neat but cramped. Toys were stacked carefully in one corner. Crayon drawings decorated the fridge, stick figures holding hands, a house with a crooked roof, a sun smiling far too wide. Ethan swallowed hard. "They are asleep," Lena said quietly, closing the door behind him. "You have 1 hour." He nodded. "That is fair." They sat across from each other at a small kitchen table. For a moment, neither spoke. 5 years of silence pressed in on the narrow space between them. "You look different," Ethan said finally. "So do you," she replied. "More expensive." The faintest hint of a smile tugged at her lips, then vanished. "I do not know," he said. "If I had." "You would have done what?" she interrupted. "Asked me to give up everything for your schedule, moved us into a tower with a nanny and security, and told yourself you were present." The words stung because they echoed his own doubts. "I loved you," he said quietly. "I loved you too," she answered, her voice cracking despite her effort to stay calm. "That is why I left." He looked at her in disbelief. "You left because you loved me?" "I left because loving you meant disappearing," she said. "Every time I needed you, there was another meeting, another deal, another crisis only you could fix. And when I told you I was pregnant, you looked at me like I had just ended your life." Ethan's breath caught. "I was scared." "I know," she said softly. "So was I." She stood, pacing the small kitchen. "I do not want my children to grow up feeling like a burden. I do not want them waiting by the door for a father who never came home." "They would not have been a burden," he said fiercely. "But they would have been alone," she replied, turning back to him. "Just like I was." The truth settled heavily between them. "Are they happy?" he asked. "Do I make their lives harder by being here now?" Lena hesitated. "They are loved. They are safe. That is all I ever wanted." "And me?" he asked. "Do I matter to them at all?" "They do not know you," she said gently. "And you do not get to walk in and out of their lives when it suits you." "I do not want to," he said. "I want to be here, really here." Her eyes searched his face, skepticism warring with hope. "You are engaged." "I know." "Then choose," she said simply. "Because I will not be the secret you visit when your real life gets too heavy." The weight of her words pressed down on him, heavier than any boardroom decision he had ever faced. "I'm not asking for money," she continued, "or promises you cannot keep. I am asking for honesty. With me. With them. With yourself." A soft sound came from the hallway. Lena froze. "Mama," a small voice called sleepily. The boy stood at the doorway, rubbing his eyes, his hair a mess of dark curls. He looked directly at Ethan. For a heartbeat, no one moved. "This is Ethan," Lena said slowly, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "A friend." The boy studied him with open curiosity. "You look like me." Ethan felt something inside him break open. "Yes," he said, his voice barely holding. "I do." Lena placed a protective hand on the child's shoulder. "Back to bed, sweetheart." The boy nodded, still staring at Ethan as he turned and disappeared down the hall. When Lena faced him again, her eyes were wet. "This," she said, "is why it cannot be simple." "I will not make it simple," Ethan replied. "I will make it right." She shook her head. "We will see." She opened the door, signaling the end of the hour. As Ethan stepped into the hallway, The door closing softly behind him, he understood something with terrifying clarity. For the first time in his life, success meant nothing if it cost him the people who mattered most. And this time, there would be no running from the choice ahead. Ethan did not go home after leaving Lena's apartment. He drove aimlessly through the city, the image of the little boy standing in the hallway, replaying over and over in his mind. "You look like me." The words had landed with a force he had not been prepared for. Boardroom battles, hostile takeovers, billion-dollar risks. None of them compared to the quiet devastation of that moment. By the time he finally pulled into his penthouse garage, the sky was already dark. Claire was waiting. She stood in the living room, still in her work clothes, heels kicked off near the sofa. Her posture was calm, but her eyes were sharp in a way Ethan had learned not to underestimate. "You did not come home last night," she said. "I needed time," he replied honestly. "To think," she said, "or to see her." He did not answer. That was answer enough. "So, it is true," Claire said quietly. The woman from the crosswalk. Her voice did not tremble, but something fragile had entered it. Ethan walked closer, stopping a few feet away. "Yes," he said, "she is my ex. And the children? They are mine." The words echoed in the vast room, heavier than the glass and steel surrounding them. Claire let out a slow breath and sat down. "How old?" "4," he said. "Twins." She closed her eyes briefly. "You have known for how long?" "2 days. And in those 2 days," she said, opening her eyes again, "you managed to turn our entire life into a question mark." "That is not fair," he said. "Neither is this," she replied. "But here we are." Silence stretched between them. Claire finally stood and walked to the window, the city glittering beneath her. "I built my future around you," she said. "Your world, your pace, your priorities. I never asked you to," Ethan said softly. "No," she replied, turning back to him. "You did not have to." She walked toward him then, stopping close enough that he could see the hurt she was trying to keep contained. "Are you in love with her?" she asked. Ethan hesitated. That hesitation was everything. Claire nodded slowly. "Then do not insult me by pretending this can continue." "I care about you," he said. "Deeply." "But you love her," she said. Yes." The word felt like both a confession and a release. Claire straightened her shoulders. "Then I will not compete with ghosts or children who deserve a father. I never wanted to hurt you." "I know," she said. "But wanting is not the same as choosing." She reached for the ring on her finger, sliding it off with steady hands. She placed it on the marble counter between them. "This is where I step away," she said. "Before resentment turns us into people we do not recognize." Ethan swallowed. "I am sorry." "So am I," she replied. "I really thought love would be enough." She picked up her bag and walked toward the door, pausing only once. "Be better for them," she said quietly. "Do not make the same mistake twice." The door closed behind her with a soft finality. Ethan stood alone, the ring catching the light like an accusation. The next morning, he requested a meeting with his board. They were not pleased. "You are asking to restructure your role," the chairman said carefully. "Reduce travel. Delegate authority you personally fought to centralize." "Yes," Ethan replied. "Effective immediately." "And why now?" another board member asked. "Because I have children," he said simply, "and I intend to be present." The room fell silent. After a long moment, the chairman nodded. "We built this company on your ambition. Perhaps it is time we let it survive without consuming you." By the end of the meeting, Ethan felt lighter than he had in years. That afternoon, he stood outside Lena's building again, this time without hesitation. She opened the door and stiffened when she saw him. "You said to choose," he said before she could speak. "I did." She searched his face. "And I ended my engagement," he said. "Restructure my work. I am not here to make promises. I am here to do the work." Lena folded her arms. "That does not erase the past." "I know," he said, "but I'm not asking you to forget it. I'm asking for the chance to be better." A small voice echoed from inside. "Mama." The little girl appeared this time, clutching a stuffed rabbit. She looked at Ethan with the same curious eyes as her brother. Lena hesitated, then stepped aside. "Come in." They sat on the floor this time, building blocks scattered between them. The twins watched Ethan cautiously as he helped stack colors into a crooked tower. "You are bad at this," the boy said seriously. Ethan smiled. "I am learning." "That is good," the girl said. "Mama says learning is important." Lena watched from the kitchen doorway, her expression unreadable. When the tower collapsed, the twins laughed, the sound bright and unguarded. Something in Lena's face softened. "You can stay for dinner," she said. "But this does not change everything." "I would never expect it to," Ethan replied. "It just changes today." That night, after the twins were asleep, Lena sat across from him again. "This will be slow," she warned. "Messy, painful at times. I'm not afraid of hard things," he said. "I'm afraid of missing them." She studied him for a long time, then nodded once. "We will take it one day at a time," she said. And for the first time since the crosswalk, hope did not feel reckless. It felt earned. Ethan woke before the sun, the soft morning light filtering through the curtains. The twins were already awake, their small voices carrying from the living room. He slipped quietly out of bed, careful not to disturb Lena, and headed to the kitchen. Coffee first, strategy second. That had been his life for years, and now the stakes were personal, not corporate. The twins were perched at the counter, bowls of cereal in front of them. Ethan poured himself some coffee and smiled at their chatter. "Mr. Thornton," the little boy said seriously, "you know the rules about stepping on the blue blocks." "Yes, sir," Ethan replied with mock severity, kneeling so he was eye level with them. "I will not touch the blue blocks." The girl giggled. "You better not," she warned, pointing her finger like a tiny general. It was small moments like this, ordinary, chaotic, alive, that Ethan had been missing in his relentless pursuit of success. Here, amidst spilled cereal and block towers, he found clarity. He was not just a CEO, he was their father. And if he failed here, there was no quarterly report to recover from. Only consequences that mattered forever. Lena joined him with a steaming cup of tea. "Good morning," she said softly. Her eyes held that same quiet vigilance, the balance of trust and caution she had always maintained around him. "Good morning," he said, handing her a mug. "Didn't mean to wake you so early, but—" She smiled faintly. "But the twins are awake and chaos reigns." "Exactly." They shared a small laugh. After breakfast, Ethan suggested a walk along the nearby park, the city still just stirring to life. Lena hesitated at first. She was protective, wary of exposing the children to his world, but eventually agreed. Ethan held the little girl's hand while Lena held her son's, and together they strolled along the paths, the city around them alive but somehow distant, inconsequential. "You have a lot to learn," the boy said suddenly, tugging at Ethan's sleeve. "Like how to make pancakes without burning the kitchen down." "I'm a fast learner," Ethan promised, earning a laugh from Lena and a grin from the girl. By the time they returned to the apartment, Ethan knew what had to happen. He turned to Lena, all the confidence of a man who had faced hostile takeovers and impossible deadlines now repurposed for something infinitely more important. "I need to know something," he said. "I know I can't rewrite the past, and I know I have a lot to earn back. But will you let me try? Not just for me, not just for them, but for all of us." Lena studied him, the silence stretching in a way that made him almost panic. Then she spoke, voice steady but soft. "Ethan, I will let you try," she said. "But understand this. I will not hand over our life on a whim. You will have to prove yourself every day." "I wouldn't have it any other way," he said. The first weeks were a learning curve. Ethan discovered how exhausting yet rewarding life could be outside the boardroom. He learned about bedtime routines, picky eating habits, the twin language only they seemed to understand. He realized meetings and deadlines were fleeting. Moments like this were permanent. One evening, after a particularly chaotic bath time debacle involving bubbles, soap, and a very wet living room floor, Ethan and Lena sat on the couch, twins finally asleep. He took her hand in his. "You were right," he admitted. "I thought I had life figured out. Turns out, I had no idea what was important." "And now?" she asked quietly. "Now, I know." He smiled softly. "I know where I belong." The twins stirred in their sleep, murmuring and stretching. Ethan felt a wave of determination, fierce and protective. He would not let them down. He would not let Lena down. They had given him something he had never truly had before, a chance to be a family, to love without reservations, to be vulnerable and brave all at once. As days turned into weeks, Ethan became an integral part of their lives. He cooked dinners, read bedtime stories, helped with homework, and even learned to navigate the occasional temper tantrum with patience and humor. Lena observed him closely, her respect and affection growing alongside her trust. She saw a man transformed, not by necessity, not by obligation, but by choice. Then came the first real test, a surprise corporate crisis that demanded his immediate attention. A merger in Tokyo was on the brink of collapse, and his board expected his presence. The twins at school the next morning, and Lena was exhausted from work. Ethan stared at her, conflicted. "I can't just leave you alone tonight," he said. "I promised you and them I'd be here." "I know," Lena said, "but you have responsibilities. You can't avoid them forever." "I can delegate," he said, thinking quickly. "I can call on Claire. She's familiar with this project. And I'll stay on video conference. But I'm not boarding a flight tonight. Not when they need me." Lena's eyes softened. "You're doing the right thing." He smiled, relief washing over him. "For the first time, I feel like I can actually balance both worlds. Work won't consume me, because this family, this life, it matters more." And in that moment, Ethan knew that he was no longer just a man chasing success. He was a father, a partner, a protector. The crosswalk had changed everything. The twins, the laughter, the chaos. It was no longer an interruption. It was the life he had been missing, the life he had never known he wanted, the life he would fight to keep. By bedtime, the twins were finally asleep, curled against each other in a peaceful rhythm. Ethan tucked them in, kissed their foreheads, then leaned against Lena, drawing her close. "We'll figure it out," he murmured. "Together." She nodded, resting her head on his shoulder. "We already are." The city outside was alive with noise, lights, and business, but in that apartment, in that quiet cocoon of warmth and laughter, Ethan found something far more valuable than power or prestige. He found home. And for the first time in years, he believed he was exactly where he was meant to be. The morning sun streamed through the apartment windows, casting a warm glow across the cozy chaos of their kitchen. Ethan stirred coffee while Lena chopped vegetables for breakfast. The twins were already bustling about, racing toy cars across the hardwood floor, squealing in laughter. It was a scene of ordinary life, yet it carried a weight of extraordinary significance. Ethan watched them, a soft smile tugging at his lips. These moments were fleeting, but they were real, and he intended to savor every single one. He reached out, brushing a stray lock of hair from Lena's face. "You know," he murmured, "I never thought I'd be this normal." "Normal?" Lena laughed, shaking her head. "I think you're anything but normal. You're terrifyingly capable, ridiculously stubborn, and somehow completely in love with chaos." "I'll take it," he said with a wink, leaning over to kiss her temple. "As long as I get to be in love with you, chaos included." Lena's eyes softened, her hand finding his. "I love this life, all of it, even the chaos." The twins ran past them, giggling, and Ethan scooped them up, spinning them around. Lena watched, laughter bubbling from her as she shook her head at his antics. "You're hopeless," she teased. "I'm hopelessly in love," he corrected, holding the children close. The three of them tumbled onto the couch, a pile of warmth, giggles, and small hands. Ethan breathed in the moment, knowing that these ordinary mornings were the foundation of everything extraordinary he had gained. After breakfast, Ethan excused himself to make a phone call. He glanced at Lena and the twins through the doorway, his heart swelling at the simple joy of their lives. This was more important than any board meeting, any emergency, any empire. "Hello, Claire," he said into the phone. "Yes, I know Tokyo's still a priority, but we'll handle it remotely. I'll be back in a few hours." "No, nothing's more urgent than right now. No one needs me more than the people in this apartment." He ended the call and returned to the family room, smiling at Lena. "Work's under control. I'm all yours." Lena's expression softened, a mix of relief and love. "Thank you," she whispered, "for putting us first." Ethan pulled her close. "Always." The day passed in a blur of laughter, board games, storytelling, and endless cuddles. As the sun began to dip toward the horizon, Ethan suggested a walk along the nearby park trail. The twins raced ahead, holding hands, their laughter echoing across the water, while Ethan and Lena followed behind. "Do you ever think about how far we've come?" Lena asked softly. "Every day," he admitted. "I used to live for deadlines, mergers, acquisitions. Now I live for this. For us. For them. For you." She squeezed his hand, her smile radiant. "I never thought love could feel like this, complete, unstoppable, everything. But with you it does." Ethan stopped walking, turning to face her fully. "I want this to last. I want every day, every moment to feel like this. And I want to give you everything, not just my heart, but my life. Are you ready for that?" "I've never been more ready," she said, her eyes shining with trust and devotion. He took a deep breath, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. The twins stopped mid-step, eyes wide with anticipation. Ethan knelt, holding the box before Lena. "This," he began, voice steady yet trembling with emotion, "is more than a ring. It's a promise. A promise to love, to protect, to laugh, to grow, and to face every storm together. Lena, will you marry me?" Her eyes welled with tears, and she nodded so quickly it was almost comical. "Yes, yes, absolutely yes." Ethan slid the ring onto her finger, kissed her, and then lifted her into his arms. The twins cheered, jumping up and down with joy. Ethan twirled Lena, laughter echoing through the park, their happiness radiating like sunlight. The months that followed were a whirlwind of planning, love, and quiet family moments. Their wedding was intimate, heartfelt, and filled with laughter. Family, close friends, and the office colleagues who had watched their romance bloom were there, celebrating with joy. Russell's vows moved Allison to tears. "You challenged me, changed me, made me better. I promise to love you through every deadline, every disaster, and every attempt at cooking. Forever." Allison's vows were simple but powerful. "You turned off your phone for me. That's when I knew. Everything else, the grand gestures, the jealous moments, the awkward office incidents, they were just proof. You're worth every complication. I love you now and always." The honeymoon in Paris was a dream. The Eiffel Tower, lazy mornings in bed, museums, long walks by the Seine. They lived without distractions, savoring each moment. Ethan kept his promise to disconnect from work entirely, immersing himself in this new life, in his family, and in Allison. One quiet Sunday, a small package arrived for Ethan. He opened it to find a tiny bodysuit labeled, "Future CEO or Attorney in Training." His breath caught as he looked at Allison. "About 8 weeks," she whispered, a smile breaking into tears. Ethan sank to his knees, overwhelmed, lifting her into a spin before pressing his forehead to her stomach. "We're having a baby. Our family, it's growing." Lena laughed and cried simultaneously, and Ethan kissed her everywhere, a mix of joy, disbelief, and love. "I love you. All of you. Always." In the quiet moments that followed, wrapped in each other's arms on the couch, Ethan and Allison reflected on how their lives had transformed. One drunken kiss in a bar had led to this. Family, love, laughter, and a life neither had imagined but both now cherished deeply. Russell, no, Ethan, as he now thought of himself, finally understood that some moments weren't about strategy or success. They were about love, presence, and courage. He pressed a gentle kiss to Allison's temple and whispered, "Thank you for being brave enough for both of us. For changing my life, for being mine, always yours." Allison held him close, warmth and trust settling in like the tide. "Now and forever," she promised, meaning every word. Outside, the city continued its relentless pace, lights flickering, people hurrying, but inside, in their apartment, the world had stopped. Time existed only for them, for their love, and for the life they were building together. And for the first time, Ethan knew that he would never trade this for anything, because this finally was everything.